Welcome. Before we begin, take a moment to slow down. This is not a story about battles. Not about invasions. Not about fire or sudden destruction. This is a story about how civilizations collapse. Without anyone noticing. Because the truth is simple. Most civilizations do not fall when they are attacked. They fall when they no longer understand themselves. When people imagine the collapse of a civilization, they often picture chaos. Burning cities. Marching armies. Walls being torn down. But history tells a different story. The most powerful civilizations rarely collapse in a single moment. They fade. Quietly. Slowly. Almost politely. At their peak, civilizations feel permanent. Their systems seem stable. Their institutions feel eternal. Their culture feels unquestionable. People stop asking why things work. They only notice that things still work. For now, the first stage of collapse is comfort. When life becomes predictable, people begin to assume it always will be. Risk is avoided. Responsibility is delayed. Hard decisions are passed on to the next generation. Not because people are evil, but because comfort feels reasonable. In the Roman Empire, this moment lasted centuries. Rome did not fall because it was weak. It fell because it believed it could never fall. Administration expanded. Bureaucracy grew. Decisions slowed. Power became distant. Complex. Unclear. Citizens no longer felt connected to the system that ruled them. This is when trust begins to erode. Not dramatically. Not loudly. But quietly. People follow rules. They no longer believe in. Institutions exist without purpose. Traditions are repeated without understanding. The second stage of collapse is fragmentation. Groups stop seeing themselves as part of a whole. Identity becomes narrower. Loyalty becomes conditional. The question shifts from what is good for us to what is good for me. Civilizations depend on shared meaning. When that meaning dissolves, nothing replaces it. In the later years of the Roman world, citizens no longer identified with Rome itself. They identified with regions, with local leaders, with survival. The idea of Rome remained, but the feeling of Rome was gone. The third stage is institutional exhaustion. Systems built for earlier problems are forced to manage new realities. Instead of adapting, they preserve form over function. Rules multiply. Processes slow. Innovation becomes risky. The system exists to maintain itself, not to serve people. This pattern repeats again and again. In empires. In kingdoms. In modern states. The names change. The structure remains. Collapse does not arrive as a villain. It arrives as inefficiency. As confusion. As indifference. People sense something is wrong. But life continues. So they adjust. They normalize decline. By the time collapse becomes visible, It is already irreversible. Not because it happened suddenly, but because it happened too slowly to stop. One of the most dangerous moments in any civilization is when people stop believing they are responsible for its survival. When responsibility is outsourced. When accountability disappears. Civilizations do not survive on strength alone. They survive on participation. Eventually, maintenance costs exceed belief. The system becomes too heavy to sustain itself. And collapse arrives. Not as an explosion, but as silence. Buildings still stand. Laws still exist. People still go to work. But something essential has already ended. History shows us this pattern clearly. The Roman Empire, the British Empire, countless others. They did not lose power overnight. They lost meaning first. The lesson is uncomfortable. Collapse is not inevitable because of enemies. It is inevitable when people stop caring about what holds them together. This is not a warning. And it is not a prediction. It is simply an observation. Civilizations do not fall when they are attacked. They fall when they forget what they were built for. Now, as the story comes to an end, there is nothing you need to conclude. No side to take. No answer required. Just an understanding that collapse rarely announces itself. And by the time it does, it is already history. Take a slow breath and let the story rest.